Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, of course, to all of the new subscribers, and thank you to everyone who's pushed play on another episode. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you so much. And I have to say, I'm super excited to talk about a topic today that's come up in the ACPPO, which is a very special online group just for counselors. And it's such a good question because it is something that I think many of us as women in private practice face or encounter at some point in our business. And you know what? I love that this was raised because I actually have 5 techniques for helping you with this. But of course, this is just one podcast, isn't it? So what I'm going to do today is absolutely share with you my best one because it's a favorite one and I know that it's going to help you and it will give you some good results. But if you want to know the others, just let me know and I can absolutely teach them to you at some point. So here's the thing. Now, I'm sure she won't mind me reading this out. I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that. But this was the question. Hey, has anyone ever had like this great inquiry call with someone where that person actually said that they were so excited to work with you? And they were so genuinely happy. They were smiling, all that sort of stuff, feeling really pumped to start working with you. And then crickets. They hadn't booked in. So this person is absolutely not alone. It's happened to everybody. It even happened to me. Don't worry, you're not alone. And we can see from the comments in the group that there are so many other people that it's happened to as well. And you know what? I'm reading the comments even as I'm sharing this podcast with you. I'm looking at the comments in the group and, it can absolutely feel disheartening, and it can feel like in the face of things, because we don't know what's happened, our default is to, look within and not in a helpful way, but kind of in a way of like, what did I do wrong? Where did I drop the ball here? What's happened? And it can cause us to doubt ourselves and it can, shake your confidence a little bit. And then the next time somebody books in, you might not be feeling as excited to talk to them because now you've got this little niggle in the back of your mind and it just kind of goes on and on and on from there, right? I know because, as I said, I've been through it too. So was it you? Was it something you did? Or was it the client? Very interesting. Here's my 5 cents for what it's worth. I think it's a little bit of both. Bear with me for a second. I think in terms of the client, we have to remember that, it's such a huge step for that client to have booked an appointment in the first place for that welcome call. I'm sure many of you have either had to go through that yourself of either booking with a new mentor or supervisor or even ourselves going and getting counseling. I remember when I needed counseling, I had all this, that stuff that comes up in your head about the shame of, oh my gosh, I'm a psychologist or I'm a counselor and now I've got to go and get counseling and I've got to go and talk to my doctor about this and how embarrassing is this going to be because I'm meant to, do you know what I mean? Like all this stuff went through my mind. I don't know if it was like that for you, but this is how I torture myself. And I delayed and really put it off because of my mindset at the time, and eventually things started to get bad for me to the point where friends and family started to say, you're not yourself at the moment. Have you thought of talking to someone? And so, yeah, it was kind of that then got me up at night because, of course, now I feel vulnerable and I feel exposed and all of this sort of stuff. So I'm there, like many of our clients, at 3 a.m, scrolling through Google looking for an online counselor because, of course, it's Melbourne, so it's, lockdown. So I'm looking for online counselors and things like that. And then again, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what if this person knows me? Or what if they know someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows me? And what about my privacy? And what about my confidentiality? And like in my mind, I'm thinking, well, of course it's going to be private and confidential. But then that ego, that fear side was like, well, what if somebody talks? And so I had all that I was kind of dealing with as well. And then eventually, when I did start to reach out, it was like way too late. I should have done it ages ago. I reach out and, I wanted to talk to someone and get help because I was in a bad place and I needed that space where I felt safe to do that. And so for me, having that 15-minute call with a couple of counselors was helpful in a way. But in another way, I guess what I want to share from a client perspective is that when I got on all of those calls, I was so nervous. I was nervous about so much, I wasn't feeling great about myself. I wasn't like, I can say this now because of course I've got reflection and hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I wasn't feeling great about myself. I wasn't feeling valued. I wasn't feeling valuable. I wasn't feeling lovable. I wasn't feeling worthy, all those sorts of things. You're not kind of consciously aware of them at the time. That's why you go and get counseling. But that's where I was. And so what happened for me sometimes was I would have the 15-minute call and then it would get to the end and we'd ask about the fees or would discuss the fees. And I would think, can I afford that? Or I would think, do I really want to pay that? And so this would come up. But of course, objections are not about the money. Objections, like in this case and in my case, was psychology. And by that, what I mean is when somebody objects to booking in or they object to paying for a service or enrolling in your program or something like that. And if, for example, like I've got 4 or 5 different objections that we can talk about, but today I'm going to talk about money. If somebody comes to you with a money objection and they're like, oh, well, you don't offer rebates and blah, 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 and they do all of that, trust me, it's not about the money. Because guess what? When I was talking to counselors and it was about the money, like that's just what automatically came into my head. Of course I can afford counseling. But what came into my mind was like, that seems steep. Oh, that seems expensive. And guess what happened? Those counselors just kind of said, oh, all right then. Well, why don't you go to your doctor and get a mental health care plan and go and, see about billing psychologists for free. And then the calls were kind of, wrapped up then. And I came away from that feeling completely unsupported, feeling like, I was dismissed, I'd been discarded, like I wasn't good enough. And it just fed into my anxiety and my fear that I was already going through about not feeling good enough or worthy enough or valuable enough, or these people did not stand for me. The person that I ended up enrolling with was someone who said to me, tell me about affording it. Is it your reality that you can't afford my fee? Or is there something else really happening? What's going on for you here? And you know what? With those 2 sentences, it opened the door for me to explore on the call what was coming up for me, which of course had nothing to do with money. And by her asking me that question, it showed me that she stood for me. It showed me that, not that she wasn't going to take my BS, but it showed me that she was astute enough and she was on the ball enough to be able to spot a limiting belief that I had, to be able to spot how my ego messes with my mind. And I knew in that instant that she was the right person for me. And she sat with me while we processed how it wasn't about the money and it was about something else that was going on for me. Okay, which happened at the time, just in the interest of full disclosure, but it linked back to that whole idea of me not feeling good enough or worthy enough to really invest in myself. And it wasn't even coaching or anything like that. I'm talking about mental health, like counseling. So this is what I want you to know. When I say it's partly the client's, contributing to this booking not happening, and it's partly your responsibility, this booking not proceeding, this is what I'm talking about. If you don't stand for a client when they raise a money objection, what's another way of saying it? I think I've said this previously. Someone is always enrolling someone on a call. Okay. And you've got to remember, in the industry that we work in, we're working with people, most of us, not all, I appreciate that, but many of us work with mental health. Not all counselling's for mental health, I understand that, but many of us work with mental health. And you know, and I know, just how tricky and clever and manipulative and deceptive and all that sort of stuff our minds can be sometimes. I mean, it's ego, and there's nothing bad about ego, nothing at all. However, when we allow that ego mindset to pop up, it just wants us to speak about the thing in the quickest possible way. So it's just going to bring up an objection straight away without us even thinking about it. And if nobody counsels us through that or coaches us through that on that call, right? Isn't that our responsibility as counselors and coaches and psychologists and social workers to be supporting? Isn't that why they're coming to us? Because you've had this amazing call and they've said that they want to work with you and the energy is really great, and then it just kind of fizzles and everything just goes pear-shaped and AWOL. Do you understand why that's actually happening now? Hang on, I think Gabe's going to start barking. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to pause the recording because Gabe's barking at the window washer. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that someone's always enrolling someone. So if someone who's in their anxiety state, who's feeling fearful, who's feeling not worthy, who's feeling not good enough, something we can all relate to, says, throws it out there and says, hey, I really want to do this, but I can't afford it. And then you say, oh, okay then, and you give them referrals to other places or eHealth or something like that. You haven't helped them. And don't you have a responsibility to help them? And this is a chance for you on that call to show them just how much of a transformation they can expect to receive when they work with you, right? This is what it's all about. And I think that is where the counselling and where the coaching, where the psychology and where the social work really begins. It all begins and starts on that first call. So don't allow yourself to be enrolled in their objections. Instead, listen out for it. Hear what's really going on. Use your intuition. Use your education, use your skills, use your capacity to hear, is she speaking to me now from a place of her highest self, or is she speaking to me from fear, from that ego-based mindset? And how can I lift that rock up for her to dig down underneath, see what's beneath it, and support her in having a breakthrough on the phone with you, or on Zoom with you, or on Talked with you, or whatever program you're using to build this connection. But this is where it all starts. And I feel it's the sign of a really good counselor, psychologist, social worker, coach to be able to help clients identify, appreciate, acknowledge these underlying patterns when they occur. And there's a process for doing that as well. But as I said, it's a podcast. And if you want to learn how to do that, let me know and we can absolutely book a call and I can teach you how to do that. So this is what I want you to know when I'm saying that sometimes it's you, sometimes a client, this is what's going on. The other thing to be aware of too is, following up. Now, following up is so important, especially when we're working in this industry, because if we haven't calibrated that conversation really well, if we haven't taken time to dive more deeply into, any of their objections, we're talking about a money objection today, then what happens is we lose that client. So there is so much value in the follow-up. So what I mean by that is a couple of things. Number one, when you follow up, always tell the client on the end of that call, if they've not booked in with you, of course you want to book them in on the call. That's a whole other process, which I can teach you about too. But if they haven't booked in on the call, then what you want to do is honor that they need to take some space, but tell them that you want to call them in, 24 hours, no longer than 24 hours, because what we want to do is give them a chance. We want to give them a chance to think about the decision that they're going to make, but we also want to be able to sit there and hold the space for them. And this shows them, number one, that we haven't left them high and dry, that we haven't dismissed or discarded them, that we care, and that we're going to hold that space for them again the next day. And that's a really, really, really good feeling for them to know that you're going to be checking in with them the next day within 24 hours. That's really cool. And you can make that appointment on the phone, make that follow-up appointment on the phone. The other thing to do is give them a piece of homework. Give them an action step or a task or an activity that you want them to do while they're mulling it over about whether or not they're going to work with you. And make sure that that activity or that exercise that you give them is going to support them in making a decision that they feel aligned with. Okay? And you know how to do that. But again, if you don't, let me know and I can talk you through it on a call. So that would be the process, and it's obviously the process I use when I'm enrolling you guys into supervision or mentoring or coaching, as well as my clients, my counseling clients, my private counseling clients. And it works because it's aligned with me. I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. I'm not coercing. I'm not selling. It's not about me at all. In fact, because I believe that there's always an abundance of clients out there, because I believe I can't lose the clients that are right for me, I'm not attached to the outcome anymore. In the beginning, it was a different story. I was trying to, enroll all of the counseling clients to fill my diary. But guess what? They weren't all great clients and they weren't all ideal clients. And I got myself into a real pickle because I took that approach. The other mistake that I made when I was first starting out in private practice so many moons ago was that I used to pride myself on having an almost 100% conversion rate from an inquiry call into a booking. But what I know now is just what I was saying a moment ago. Like, it's not about how many people you book in. It's about the quality of those people that you book in, not the people, but the situations, the leads, the presentations, all of that sort of stuff is what I mean about the quality of the lead. So now I don't need to see as many people. I get high quality leads. Most of the time, clients that book a call with me are already wanting to work with me. I don't need to do any selling, and I don't believe in selling. I believe in helping. And because of those beliefs that I shared with you a moment ago, that I believe the right clients are there for me and they'll find me and they'll connect with me and stuff like that, there's no pressure on me to put pressure on a potential client or to put pressure on myself. And I don't judge or criticize myself if somebody doesn't enroll. I just appreciate they're not for me, they're for somebody else. And that's okay, because the right person is just around the corner. So that's the attitude that I have about the enrollments. And this is what I want you to understand. Like, lean into your beliefs. And if you're not like me, which I like to think, because you're listening to Private Practice with Sol, we're kind of all on the same page-ish with we believe in soul and energy and spirit and stuff like that, whatever language we want to use. But if you lean into that, it really does help you detach from the outcome, and just that experience of detaching from the outcome will make the process of having those calls so much more comfortable for you. And guess what that's going to feel like for your client when you can just be totally present for them. So remember that when somebody has an inquiry call with you, number one, you want to book them in on the call while you can, if it's right and it's aligned for both of you. Number two, if there's some reason that they've popped up with at the end, like they've said to you, they want to work with you, they love your service, they want to do it, and then right at the very end, they pull out at the last second. That's okay. That recognize that that's fear, and ask them if they're willing to explore that. And that's your chance to shine and show them that they're making the right decision for you. If you can hear whimpering in the background, it's Gabe. He's been told not to bark at the window cleaner, and he's trying very hard to restrain himself. So he's just kind of, he's got his nose pressed up against the glass, and he's just sort of making some whimpering sounds. Hello, baby. Yeah, I'm talking about you. We'll go for a walk in a minute. Mummy just finished her podcast. Yeah, and so that's what I really want you to take away from today. Okay, there are definitely opportunities for you to support your client on that call. If they don't book in, that's okay. Give them an action step or a homework task and follow up with them the next day. Don't follow up by email or text. It's just going to get deleted, and it just feels like a brush off. Be personal. Book that Zoom, if it's going to be a Zoom, or book the phone call while you're on the call. Say, hey, Brooklyn, I'll happy for you to go away and think about it. That's totally fine. I get it. That's all good. Let's make a time for us to catch up tomorrow. Do that while you've got them on the phone, and then you're going to say, and something else, here's what I can give you to help you make the right decision for you. Here's what I want you to do. And you're going to give them that activity or tool, and you're going to say to them, so when we catch up tomorrow, I want to check in with you and see how you went with that. Okay. If you've got any questions, here's my number, blah, blah, blah. So that is the approach that works, that's aligned with you. Remember, you're not trying to convince anybody to do anything. It's not about that. It's about you coming from a place of your highest good to help the very people that you really, really want to help. And guess what? When you do that, people will naturally be drawn to you, and they will naturally want to work with you, because you've already demonstrated to them, A, that, there's an underlying pattern here. B, you can support them in dealing with that underlying pattern. And that's so, so, so important, because so many other counselors will just say, okay, then, well, you know where to find me, come back next time. And that's not empowering, and you're not that person. Yep. Okay. I hope this all made sense. I know I was a little bit interrupted with all the window cleaning that was going on, but hey, this is lockdown in Melbourne, doing my best here. Okay, I will talk to you a little bit later. Have a happy Saturday. And if you want help with any of this, let me know. If we're already connected on Facebook, just send me a little message. If not, you can find me on Facebook. Or I will put my link to my diary below. So feel free just to book out a half-hour coffee and Zoom. It'll be so nice to see you. All right, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really, really hope this helps. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Sol podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.